Um, Welcome. This is the call on the Des Moines Integrated Corridor Management Project. This is John Mark with HDR, and today we're going to be talking about the Advanced Traffic Demand Management Pilot project that we're working on in the Des Moines area. We want to thank you so much for volunteering to be part of this project in some way. And today's presentation is going to be by Metropia. They're going to be talking about a little bit about what they do as a partner with us on this technology pilots, and then they're going to talk about the Go Easy Traffic Navigation and Transportation app in order to help you to understand how you can participate in this pilot study and educate about the use and the benefits of the app. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to the Metropia team to introduce themselves and talk about their business.
Thank you, John. Good afternoon. My name is Vasilis Papagiannoulis. I'm a Vice President of Metropia, and I have along Chris Coleman also, who is leading a lot of our marketing communications, and Ali Arian also will be joining us soon. He's a Director of Product. Chris also will be the day-to-day project manager for this project with HDR. So please make sure that if you want to communicate with us, copy Chris, send the emails to Chris. Please copy me, and so if there are any questions that we need to address or resolve, we'll be happy to do so. The way that we have arranged this presentation, I think we have about an hour and a half. I'm going to try to do a quick introduction on who we are, and then we have a number of slides that will walk you through the Go Easy functionalities that Chris will take over and describe to them. Next slide, please. So who we are a transportation technology and solution firm. The company was started in 2012. The founder of the company is Professor Yitzhak Chu. He's a professor at the University of Arizona in the transportation, and we're fortunate to be able to bridge that academic and industry and bring to our clients solutions that are very advanced, if you will, in terms of what we do, since that academic background gives us a first opportunity on various research that is happening in the academic world. We all have transportation background, or most of us have a transportation background. For example, I've been in the transportation planning industry for over 30 years. So we have tremendous experience working with agencies like you. We understand the processes, and also we understand what the issues are related to the transportation systems operations and strategies, policies, and projects, right? And coming out of all this experience is our vision, right? I mean, what we're trying to do, we're trying to make cities more connected and less congested. And while we all try to do the same things, there have been a number of application solutions, if you want. Some of them have worked through a traditional travel demand management program. Some others have not worked, right? So we develop a solution that we feel aligns with the transformational changes that are happening in the mobility industry. And with that, I'd like to give you an overview at a high level, as I said, about our platform and our solution. Next slide, please. So our focus is what we call mobility options discovery and engagement. So we're trying to introduce to users the mobility options available to them in a contextual manner, as well as a personalized manner. And also we're trying to change their travel behavior, meaning we are trying to use behavior economics and strategies to try to understand what will take for the users to change from single occupant vehicle drivers to more sustainable modes. Now, Doing that for each user, we can get information on how user behavior changed, but at the end of the day, what's more important is how the whole application of our platform will affect the system. Now, given the size and the purpose of this pilot, that's something that we won't be able to assess in the Des Moines market, but we do have the tools to do that assessment, and we're working with other agents also to bridge the operations with the active demand through our tools as well also as data analytics and other modeling capabilities that we have. Next slide, please. So we've been working with a lot of agents over the years, and this is a number of the agencies that we work with, ranging from transit agencies with BART. We just finished a behavior project that we're doing with them. I don't know if you're familiar with Perks 2. They were providing incentives to the users to change their behavior in terms of which train to catch during the peak period. We are currently working with TxDOT Houston. TxDOT Houston is the recipient of one of the ATC MTD's grants. It was awarded back in 2016, but given it was the first round of the grants, the project just started back in August of 2019. Metropia is the prime, and we have a number of subs working with them, with us. We've been working a lot with FHWA. Actually, we just completed a study related to social carpooling, and we'll talk about our feature that we have as part of our platform. And we're currently working on another project with them that has to do with deploying our platform and performing experiments in terms of what might be the willingness to accept for the users to switch sustainable mode or to switch to a sustainable mode or to switch departure time. And of course, given all that experience we have and as our platform evolves, helped us out also expand internationally. We currently have a mobility as a service project out in Taiwan. Next slide, please. So just a quick overview of the platform. Next slide, please. We have different elements comprising our total mobility platform. You can view it as a mass platform where provide journey management through our Go Easy app that Chris will talk a little bit later. We have a behavior engine in Views. We have multi-mode integration with payments. We're currently working with Houston Metro to integrate their transit payment ticketing into our app, and we're working also on a platform to integrate multimodal payments, meaning from other transit service providers like bike sharing or TNCs. In addition, we have our own analytics capabilities under our Assess platform, as well also modeling capabilities where we evaluate the system based on the strategy we deploy through our platform. And finally, and I apologize, I think I skipped the last, I flipped the last two slides. We have also a transit hailing component, which is more of a demand service, where we have built our own proprietary algorithms and could be used either for non-emergency medical situations where people can call up. We partner with fleet operators, and we can help them arrange trips through these fleet operators, but also could be used as first and last mile. This element is not going to be deployed as part of the study since it needs the fleet operator to work, but it's available in our platform if you choose to have another pilot study. Next slide, please. So how do we combine all these things together? These are coming through the Journey Planner, the Go Easy, where you see here all the various capabilities in terms of mobility options that we're offering, that's ranging from drive alone, walking, transit, as well also the carpooling feature, which we call Duo, Drive Up Occupancy. And that's an interesting component that has evolved over the years, where right now we offer two types of carpooling. One is what we call user-driven, where social groups could be formed by users to carpool and dynamically also interact through a platform. And the second type of operation is system-driven, where based on the travel patterns we observe and the abilities and willingness of the users, we can match them with other people that they might be going towards the same direction during the same time to form a carpool. And under the hood, of course, is the whole idea about the data acquisition that helps us formulate a better understanding of the needs of our users, understanding their patterns. But we have also the capability to ask additional questions through a microsurvey tool that you see on the screen to create what we call personas, because none of us is exactly the same. Some people will never change because others don't have the ability or the motivation, or because the travel patterns during the day do not allow them to use another mode. So that capability is available, and it's more of a plus, if you will, questions we're asking about to understand characteristics of the user, socioeconomic characteristics, or their attitudinal characteristics related to various modes. As part of our in use, we have formulated an approach where we observe the patterns and the users. We understand what we learn about their behavior, right? And we try to understand what might trigger them, reinforce the trigger behavior, and we continue that circle until we see some changes in the travel behavior of the users. And we have done this over, as I said, the past 8 years, and our engine has been evolved from providing incentives across the board to be a lot more selective now and provide not only monetary but also non-monetary incentives through a baby step approach that we have introduced, and Chris will talk a little more. And the whole idea for that is, again, as I said, the group of people that will never change, so there's no point, in a sense, try to motivate them or even give them monetary rewards, but also we're trying to create a more sustainable business model, if you will, for our clients in terms of subsidizing monetary incentives. Next slide, please. Now, that's where a lot of our academic and industry relations come in, and we have implemented a lot of artificial intelligence capabilities, both in terms of recognizing patterns, in terms of routing, in terms of understanding trip purposes, and a lot of other underlying activities that we take as part of deploying our platform. Next slide, please. So at this point, I would like to turn over to Chris, that he will walk you through the various functionalities of our Go Easy app that you're all going to be using. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Vasilis. So this is Chris, and like Vasilis said, I'm going to be walking you through some of the features and functionality of the Go Easy app. And you'll be able to see some of the things that Vasilis was talking about, like our multimodal trip planner and our Induce, the behavior modification engine, come alive here in the app, and how they work together to kind of achieve these goals. So first off, though, we've got to get the app. So Go Easy is available and free, whether you have an iPhone or an Android device. If you have an iPhone, you just fire up the Apple App Store on your phone, type in Go Easy, and you should see the listing here on the bottom left-hand side of my screen. From there, you just download the app. And if you have an Android, similar process, you go to Google Play, just type in Go Easy, it's G-O-E-Z-Y, as you see on the screen, and just have to download the app, and we will be in business. So I'm going to walk you through the onboarding process, how we get signed up and set up in the app. And And first off, you'll see our logo here on the bottom left. And from there, we're going to go through kind of some highlights and functionality that you scroll through the onboarding process. And as we proceed, you might get some permission primers, just some requests to enable different functionality and communication with the app. So the first one you see here is requesting access to your location. And this is basically enabling us to use the GPS signal in your phone, which obviously is important when we're talking about things like developing routes and navigation and things like that. So these permissions might look a little bit different depending on if you have an iPhone or an Android, what particular model. But in this instance, what you see here in screen number 3, you would want to type allow while using app. And at any stage, if during the onboarding process or even later in the coming weeks, your phone presents you with the option to kind of reset the preferences, and it gives you the option to allow us to use the signal at all times. That's really the best approach with the most benefits. That would allow us to do things like, let's say that you're at work and we've learned that you're going to be headed home before too long, but you haven't scheduled a trip. And our system realizes that there's been a major crash that's going to impact your route on the way home. We can go ahead and proactively notify you about that. So that's a very concrete example of why you would want to give the highest level of access to your location. And then from there, on the last screen, there are 2 different ways that you can log in and create an account with GoEasy. The first, if you have a Facebook account, you're just going to tap on Connect with Facebook. And then below that, connect with Google. So if you have a Gmail account, either one of those are your options to get started in creating an account. From there, they might ask you just to confirm that you want to log in, via that social media or that email account. Just confirm that, and you will be in business. Okay, so the first screen you see here on the left, ready for a better commute. This is your opportunity to begin the customization of the app. So you can do that by setting your home address or your work or school address. I'm guessing with this audience, be much more of the work than school. But either way, just tap on the first one you want to enter. Let's say we set the home address, tap next. And we have 2 pretty convenient ways for you to enter in that address and save it. The first is a search bar up at the top. You can either type in the name of a business, so, Starbucks, Metropia, whatever the case may be, and it's going to return that list of results, and you just select the right one. You can also enter in a physical address, so for your home, for example, or if you just want to type it in for your office, that's also available. The second one below the search bar, you're going to see the option to tap pin a location on the map. This is very handy in some instances where perhaps you have a very specific location at a larger destination. I'll give you an example. For example, my son plays soccer at a public park, and it's very huge. Just one physical location, one address for that entire park. And if you type it in, it might take you to the wrong side of the park along the wrong routes where you need to go. If you tap pin a location, it'll pull up a map. You can zoom in and kind of pinpoint where you would want to go. And so it uses that as your ultimate destination. Another example would be maybe at a mall and you want to end up at a particular store in a particular parking lot. So 2 different ways, depending on where you're headed, that you can save those locations. Okay, from here, we're going to verify your phone number. This is pretty straightforward. You just tap and enter in your phone number. You tap next, and then we're going to send you a text message with a PIN code. You just enter in that 123XYZ, whatever comes through in the text message, and you're on your way. Okay, so this is an important step, particularly for this project, an opportunity to enter in another email address. So let's say that your agency work email address is not associated with your Facebook or Gmail account. This is the opportunity to enter that agency email address here. So that way we can associate your profile with this program, and we can make that connection and understand, that you're a part of this program, and put you into the appropriate campaigns, which we'll discuss later, and make sure that all the features and functionality that we want you to experience as part of this project are available to you. So at this point, you would want to enter in your agency email address and just tap next. Then just as we did with the phone number, as you see here on the right, we're going to send you a verification email to that email address. You'll just open up that email and just say, yeah, confirm that you got the email address. Yes, that's me. Okay, so at that point, we are wrapped up with the onboarding and we have landed on the first page of the app, the landing page. Just quickly, I'm going to go through some of these options on the bottom, starting at the bottom right. Settings, this is fairly straightforward. You'll see a lot of the features that you would expect here for managing your account and your profile. You can update some of your favorite locations, for example, that you want to save in the app. You can change the photo associated with your account. Other small customizations and things like that you would expect. Under the wallet, we won't get too much into this, but as part of the program, some folks might be offered incentives and reward points in exchange for trying out alternatives to their typical commute, whether that's leaving at a different time or trying out a different mode and things of that nature. So as you accrue those points, they're going to be stored in your wallet. So you can go to wallet, see how many points you have, and that's where you'll also go to spend and redeem those points. So if you open up wallet, you'll see a selection of gift cards that you can purchase by your reward points. So second from the left, we see carpooling. That's for our duo carpooling feature, and we'll get into that pretty extensively here in just a bit. And then all the way on the left, bottom left, is explore. And this is where you would go to check out some of your multimodal options. If you want to consider an alternative other than driving, this is where you're going to go. But for now, we're just going to tap the blue schedule a trip button. So again, we have two different ways that you can enter your destination. The first one, what we discussed earlier, and that's zooming in on the map and just long pressing where you want to go. And so you can do that. As you can see, there's going to be a tile that pops up confirming the address where you want to head. And you can either add this as a favorite location if this is a place that you find yourself going pretty frequently, or you can just ask for directions, the blue button. You tap that and we'll help navigate you there. The other option, if you tap the search bar up at the top, it'll pull up the screen on the right, and then the familiar process of either typing in a business name or a physical address. And then you'll see some selections resulting from that search down at the bottom, and you can just tap that and set that as your destination. Okay, so back to Explore. If you wanted to check out some of your different mode choices, see those routes and kind of do a compare and contrast before ultimately selecting. Similar situation, you would enter in your destination, and then up along the top under the addresses, you're going to see some icons. On the leftmost screen, we've selected driving, and so you're going to get the navigation route that we're suggesting on the map. You're going to see how long the trip is going to take. That's 20 minutes, the distance, the main corridor that you'll be taking, and then your estimated time of arrival. So to the right of that, you can see up at the top mode banner that the bus has been selected. So similar deal on the map. You're going to see the route of the bus, the travel time down at the bottom, along with some additional information. You're going to see, how long you need to walk, the name of the route line for the transit, and then again at the end of the connection, we'll do a little bit of walking to get to your office. And then the ETA, and then you can select other routes to see some alternatives as well. So on the right of that screen, you'll see some additional information. You get that just by scrolling up on the screen. They'll give you some finer details, different times, different stops for the bus route, how far you're going to be walking and in what direction. And then all the way to the right, we've got our park and ride. So for folks that will be driving to a park and ride location and taking the bus, we'll walk you through those steps as well. As you'll see down there at the bottom, it starts off with driving, parking, walking to the line, taking the bus, and walking once more. And just like we said on the previous screen, if you scroll up, you're going to see some additional details that are helpful as an overview. Okay, so the navigation process. On the left, this will be very familiar to anybody that's used a navigation app before, fairly straightforward. So we're going to give you that door-to-door guidance throughout your route. The center screen is for public transit, and this is where some of the multimodal integration comes in. Of course, starting off that dotted line, as you can see from the icon, we're going to be walking to the bus station, and then on the left-hand side of that screen, you can see where we're catching the bus, and from there on, the green line denotes where the bus is going to be headed along the road. And then on the far right, we've got public transit once again, so showing the different stops, the different mode switches, and everything along the way as we go. Okay, so the user experience and incentivization. So earlier, Vasilis was talking about Induce, our behavior modification engine, and we've done a lot of work in the background to learn users' travel patterns, their needs, how they typically travel, at what time, where they're headed. And all this comes into play with the judicious application of incentives and information. We only want to select the most prime candidates for a particular campaign. It's not about reaching everyone, it's about reaching the right audiences with the right offer at the right time. And so this is where the personalization of the app really comes into play. So after you've used the app for, let's say, 1 to 2 weeks, maybe around 2 weeks for most users, but it depends on how often you're using the app and how habitual the nature of your trips are. The more that they align from day to day, leaving at a very similar time towards a similar destination, we'll be able to track that as we go. And so over time, as you open up the app, we're going to predict where you're headed. So you don't even need to enter in information. It's more just a process of confirming, yes, actually, that is where I'm headed. I'm going to work, or I'm going to pick up the kids, or what have you. So that is what you're looking at on the screen on the right. Okay, so over the years, as Vasilis mentioned, we've done so much research and experiments in behavior change and using behavioral economics to guide people towards selecting just more beneficial modes of travel. And definitely we've learned, as you can imagine, just somebody opens up the app and we just say, there's a bus that goes to your office, be there at the bus stop at 8 a.m. You're not going to get a lot of results. And instead, our experiments have revealed just how effective this baby steps approach can be. What you're looking at the chart here is fairly intuitive. The more difficult something is, the more motivation somebody needs to accomplish that. And motivation can come in the form of incentives. It can come in the way of nudges, information, and all these things come alive in the Go Easy app to progress people through a series of tasks and kind of calibrating their mind frame around the benefits of making this switch. So if you see down here on the bottom right-hand corner, and we're progressing them along by first providing some information that we think would raise their opinion of a particular mode. And these are going to be dependent on the market and the mode that's relevant to this user. So here, did you know that the Chicago buses offer free Wi-Fi? So instantly somebody's starting to think, okay, I could get some work done. I could hop on Facebook. I could listen to a podcast and whatnot. Again, the next one is an information tile, letting people know, hey, this is a lot more high tech than maybe you're envisioning with the bus. You can actually pay right through your smartphone. The next tile to the left, you see we're appealing to their economic interests. Did you know that, based on your particular travel pattern, insurance costs, gas, parking, things of this nature, you could be saving X amount of dollars per month by taking this trip. And then ultimately, an action tile. We're making the suggestion to them after we've kind of prepped them for this, increase their opinion of that mode. We're letting them know, hey, here's your opportunity. We've done a lot of work for you. Just tap this button and you can get a look at the route that you'd be taking, get a feel for how convenient it is, and even give it a try. Okay, so an overview of those tiles that I was just discussing here. Information tile, just like the name suggests, this is where we're providing some facts about that particular mode. It might be specific to that particular route. For example, did you know that this bus has an express lane that doesn't have to stop at lights, or makes less frequent stops along the way? And again, this is to raise the user's opinion of that particular mode. The action tile is more specific in that we're prompting them to make the switch. So we're actually providing the bus route. We're actually saying, did you know if you left 20 minutes early, you could avoid a lot of the traffic and save time on your commute? Things like this. So it's providing that prompt along with the ability to tap a button and explore that action in more detail and then hopefully follow through. And then the last tile here is an action tile with the monetary incentive. So it's just like that tile before, but it's also offering a reward for following through with the action. So, you know, if you leave 20 minutes early, for example, we will give you 200 reward points for that action. And then we track the behavior in the app so we can verify that they've gone through that process and completed that trip, and then they're rewarded with those points. And again, you know, this is all curated to the individual. It's not that everybody is going to need the action tile with an incentive. Some folks might not even need an action tile at all. Maybe 1 or 2 information tiles is all that they need. So this is where the artificial intelligence comes into play through Induce, identifying people, determining what might be needed to get them headed down the right path, and then following that course of action. And then, as we saw earlier, these things can be deployed one after the next in a progressive step. So, you know, we're not just jumping into here's a reward, and we're building them up to that if need be. Okay, so this is kind of showing that process, trying to convert somebody from driving alone to using public transit. So in this example, you know, somebody is just on the far left, we're just presenting them. We've predicted the trip that they're going to take. They open the app, you know, they drive alone, and they tap go at the bottom right-hand corner, and they're on their way. So perhaps, you know, after some observation on the second slide there, you see that we're presenting Ali with some information. There's an information tile just letting him know that there are some locations convenient to him and near his office. So it would be worth exploring public transit. The third screen, that's an action tile. And you can see by that blue button, view suggestion, this is where we're actually giving them a prompt that can take them through to the next step of actually taking that trip by public transit. And then on the right, the far right is an example of an action tile with a reward attached. So in this instance, you know, letting them know if you use public transit to get to your destination today for this trip, you're going to earn 2,000 reward points. So the user taps view offer, they're shown the trip, and then they can follow through and actually take that trip. Okay, so this is a similar flow just to show you what it would look like for changing departure time. So in this instance on the left, we're letting a user know that there's heavy congestion and that they might want to look at leaving earlier than usual on this particular day. And of course, it's all contextually relevant. So this is actually done in real time, dynamically. There is heavy congestion outside of the norm. And so we're proactively sending this user an alert to let them know. The next screen is an action tile. So we're letting them know that the traffic is heavy and actually have the ability for them to view the suggestion of a departure time. And then we let them know the benefit of time savings and avoiding traffic at that time. On the third screen, similar fashion here, it's the progression where somebody's viewed the suggestion. We're presenting the time savings. They can save the trip. And the last screen is with the incentive offer. So again, in this instance, we're asking them to leave earlier, and we're attaching a 2,000-point reward for doing so. Okay, carpooling, and we're going to get into carpooling a little bit more, but similar progression here. So on the far left, we have an information tile. In the center, we have an incentive tile. And then on the right, we're actually providing them with a screen showing their passenger. And so, you know, by accepting this trip, we're saying that we've matched you with a potential passenger. And by accepting it and completing that trip, you're going to earn 2,000 points. And so more to come on these carpooling screens in just a bit. Okay, so this is a little bit behind the scenes, under the hood of how we create a campaign, but we work with the agency to identify the objective. You know, let's say we want somebody to leave their office a little bit later than usual to avoid rush hour traffic on the way home. So we would, actually in this instance, it's trying to get somebody to go along a different route. as you see on the left-hand screen. So on the right, we're kind of identifying the area that we want to consider for this campaign. And then we can assign the series of tiles. Do we want to present these folks with 2 suggestion tiles, then an action tile, then an incentive tile? What information do we want to disclose and include on these information tiles? What are the incentive levels that we want to offer? Select the audiences, select a specific campaign, and then we execute that for select a time frame, and that can mean we want to run this campaign for the next 2 weeks. That can mean during the hours of 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning. And so all these things are calibrated, with a particular campaign, the objectives in mind, the audience, the duration, all these things are customized for the actual campaign. Okay, so carpooling, this is our duo carpooling feature. Our carpooling matching system is based on groups. These are public and private groups. So if you want to carpool, you join a group or you start up a group and invite other people to join. So the second screen from the left, Duo main page, 2 ways that you can go. In the top search bar, you can search all the available groups. Down below that, you see in the center of the screen that you can create your own group. So those are kind of the 2 pathways that you would want to go to. So if you wanted to search and see if friends or family, coworkers had started up a group for your particular agency, let's say, you can type that in and see if there are any search results. If you wanted to start a group up with friends, family, or start your own agency carpooling group, you would tap create group and go through the process. So the third screen, we see this is searching for the duo groups. A couple of ways to accomplish this. We'll pull up a map of different groups displayed around your current location. You can zoom in on the map, zoom out, scroll in, and you can actually tap those icons to get more information about the group. And you would see that on the far right screen here. The other option is to search by group name. So, whatever that might be, the name of your company, the name of your college or university, things like that, you can search by that as well, and we'll return the names of some of the relevant groups, and you can select from those to see more information. Then as you see on the far right, request to join. So this is a public group, as denoted up at the top, which means that anybody can join without approval. This is determined during the setup process by whoever created the group. Public group just means that anybody's free to join. There's no real barrier to join that group. It's open to everybody. If you select a private group, that means that the moderator, whoever's creating the group, will have to approve or decline individuals. So let's say that you wanted to just be carpooling with family and friends. You would perhaps want that sort of control, or only for people that work at your particular company. So you would want to verify who's joining that group. So creating a group, yeah, as I mentioned, here's where you would select public or private. There's a geo-fenced area. So the geo-fenced area, this is where you select either the trips will begin from this location or end at this location. So let's say that you were using your office. It would make the most sense to create that as the geo-fenced area. You can kind of broaden that circle or shrink that circle, but you want to capture the larger area of your office. Or let's say, you were at a university with kind of a bigger campus, you would increase the size of that circle. And basically you're saying the purpose of this group is for trips to and from my office, and not, let's say, people going to the movies on the weekend or something. And so you select that location that's meaningful to the members of the group and relevant to the members of the group. So for your office, that would be your office address, and you can pin that on the map, or you can type in the address as well. Other items, you can select your cover photo, something relevant to the group that people would recognize. You create the group name and so forth. So finding a ride in a group, we have a few options here up at the top, search post or create post. So when you're setting up your trip, if you want to go through and take a look at the trips that other people have already created, you can do that by selecting search post. Or if you want to enter your trip into the system so other people can discover it, then you would enter in create post. You tap create post. Below that, you're going to signify if you are a passenger or a driver, so we can pair you accordingly. Where to go, it's going to have your current location if that's where you are going to be starting your trip from. Let's say you're at home right now when you're scheduling this trip, and your trip is going to be from home to your office at company ABC, then that's fine. Otherwise, you can tap current location, tap the start where it says current location now, and enter in the address where you will be heading from. Same thing with the end, that would be your destination. In this instance, it's company ABC, you're headed to the office. You would tap next, you'd enter in some additional trip details, the time and date that you're planning on taking off for that trip. So once you've entered that into the system, in this instance, you are searching the available posts to see what other trips have been entered that match your particular upcoming trip. And so we will curate the results and present the most relevant first. And you can scroll through them just by swiping to the left or swiping to the right. And you'll kind of go through and see the available trips, when they leave, how far they are related to your particular trip. You get to see the user's name, the user's AV, how many stars they have, and we'll get a little bit into that rating system in a bit. So you can send the request. If you tap the tile here on the left, the second screen, you see some more details about that individual driver. You can toggle through and see the pickup point, the drop-off point, the make and model of their vehicle. Again, this is just for peace of mind and safety, making sure that the appropriate person that you were expecting to come pick you up is picking you up. You see the drop-off point, starting point, and then you can send the request by that blue button up near the top right of the screen. And then we'll just let you know, we've sent this request to the driver. They're going to be sent that request pretty much in real time. Just like you did, they'll be able to pull up your profile, see your rating, see how that trip aligns with theirs. And then if they're interested in carpooling, they can accept. And if something has changed, they're no longer taking that trip, or let's say somebody with a really low rating, for example, perhaps reached out to them and they would pass and decline on that offer. So in Duo, you can also see your upcoming rides. You'll see just below the Search Duo groups, we have upcoming selected. So you can come here and see the different carpooling activities that you have coming up in the hours, days, weeks ahead. And you can also see the status. So in 30 minutes, it says matched. That means that you already have a driver or the passenger, depending on which particular party you're looking for. As well as you can see their AV, and then you tap that trip and you'll get some more information. The bottom two listings show these trips are more in the future. Pending means that you've already sent somebody a request to join their carpool and you're just waiting their approval. And then searching means that we haven't found a matching carpool for you yet, but we will continue to evaluate as new trips are entered into the system. So perhaps just nobody in your area is entered in a trip yet. That carpool, as you can see, is taking place in 3 days. So there's a good chance that somebody is going to enter a trip that might be relevant. And at that time, we'll update you and update that other party, let them know that there's a carpool available. Okay, starting the trip. On the left, we have the driver experience. We send them an alert tile, just letting them know that that trip is coming up. They can tap the blue button and actually start the trip. And we will navigate them, in this instance, first to pick up the passenger, next to drop off the passenger at their destination, and then, of course, take the driver onto their ultimate destination. So it's a multi-tiered navigation process, taking you step by step through the way. And of course, there's clear icons and information provided along the way, so you know where you're headed and what you're supposed to do at that leg of the trip. The passenger experience on the right, your driver, Ariana Grande, is coming to pick you up. You can see on the map that the car is headed towards your destination or towards your pickup point. So it gives you some visual confirmation that the driver is on the way. Of course, some peace of mind comes with that. You can perhaps get ready, meet them outside, and what have you. You also have the ability to share your ETA with somebody else. So say you're meeting somebody out, you can send them an alert via that shared ETA, and by text message, kind of send them an update on your departure and arrival time. So during the trip, this is the navigation process, just in action. In this instance, the driver is headed to pick up the passenger. That's that red and white up arrow that you see ahead of the driver on the map. And then afterwards, both parties have the opportunity to rate, in this case, the passenger, and then the passenger to rate the driver as well, give them a number of stars for that trip. Trip history, just like the name describes, you can go through and see your past trips. If you tapped on one of those past trips, you have a couple of options. One would be to contact the driver. So let's say that I got dropped off 15 minutes ago. I realized I left my backpack or briefcase in the trunk. I can contact that driver and start that communication. Or I can add a new post, which is basically saying, I'm going to take this trip again, and you don't have to enter in all those details. It basically just repeats. You update the particular information, the day and the time that you're going to be taking that trip. But it's just a convenient way to repeat that trip in the future. System match. I don't actually believe that this is going to be enabled for this particular program. But when you have, it's especially convenient when you have more people participating, we can, in the background, match potential parties. So match drivers and passengers independent of their actually scrolling through those trips and asking to join a carpool or accepting. We can kind of be the matchmaker in that instance and say, both of you have expressed an interest in carpooling. You're both heading along the same way, and present that trip opportunity to those folks. I believe that's actually all I have. Vasilis, I can hand it back over to you, or if anybody has any questions or comments, we can take those as well.
Thank you, Chris. I just want to add one more element that one of the other items that one of the other mobility options that also a platform has, which is unique also to other trip planners, is, as Chris described in the beginning, we have the ability for the transit and the public and the driving and all these things. But there is also an intermodal component, meaning that you can define your trip from home to park and ride to transit. So keep that please also in mind that through the Explorer you can do that and test it if you like. So I guess, John, I'll bring it over, send it back to you.
Yep. So we've been watching the chat pod. At this time, we don't have any questions. I did want to throw one your guys' way. On the registration, I know you guys shared the Facebook and the Google option. Are there any other options for registering outside of those two apps, or are those the two ways to get registered to the Go Easy app?
Right. Those are the two ways to get registered at this time.
Okay. All right. Well, that is going to be the only question that we have today. So I think at this point we will conclude. And again, for those listening who maybe can share this information, we will also share this information. But this webinar in its entirety has been recorded. We'll be sharing it out with the pilot users and putting it out somewhere that they can access it at their own time and convenience. I want to thank the Metropia team for putting together this presentation at this point. It's very helpful understanding the different features and what's going on behind the scenes in the app. As we move forward with the pilot, we'll be very happy to share kind of what we're seeing from this side of the operation and how the different users are interacting with the app and kind of what benefits might be on the horizon if Des Moines continues to work on this strategy and roll it out beyond this limited technology pilot. So thank you everybody for your time and have a great day.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.